Hi, welcome to International Hawaii on ThinkTech. I'm your host, Cindy Matsuki, with Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone number 9. International Hawaii showcases local import and export businesses to help others new to the industry. Today, my guest is Maui Kahawaiolaa, founder of Federal Industrial Corporation. He's a local startup, which is so exciting, a local startup manufacturer and import company, and he's also a new FTZ9 tenant. So thank you so much for joining me, Maui.
Thanks for having me, Cindy.
So I know your new company is just kind of getting off the ground, or even if. Um, could you briefly explain what your company is going to be and why you started it?
Well, our company is called Federal Industrial Corporation, and basically, this company was started originally to be a distributor for our company that we have in Thailand. So it would be we had products in Thailand that we were going to import into the U.S. But being with the pandemic situation, everything changed. So now we're adapting to the pandemic. So of course, our
Mhm.
business on the other side is going slow. So we wanted
Mm,
to innovate and see how we can take the resources from our team, our engineering team, and our technical team, and put it to good use during the pandemic.
mhm.
And by right now, we're looking at opening up a small little factory in the FTZ, bringing in the machines, importing the raw material, as in the US is very hard to get the raw material. So we're planning on bringing in the material from Asia, manufacturing and exporting and using for local consumption.
That's great. And that's something that I think we're going to be needing for a while. So, and I'm glad you're doing it in Hawaii versus doing it someplace else, like in Thailand. So that'll be exciting. Can you kind of walk us through like how you started with this idea and then how you got to where you're at now?
Okay, first, when we first started in business from a small time growing up in Hawaii, and I don't know if you remember the Mr. Softy trucks. A long time
Mm.
ago, we had that growing up. We were going to the neighborhoods and everything. So anyway, my dad had a franchise from this when a
Oh,
long time
wow.
ago. Yeah. So when we were young, we would always go in the ice cream truck and going and getting free ice cream all the time. So after a while, my dad retired from that. He's a welding contractor, welding and metalworks in Hawaii, and he would do this part time. So after years gone by, then he wanted to try and do it again, but at this time, Mr. Softy pulled out of Hawaii. So he
Oh.
started his own and called it Mr. Frosty. So we went to took by that time the truck was all beat up and everything, the old Mr. Softy truck. So we did a reconnaissance mission back to Philadelphia, and we were going to
Hmm.
buy a truck out there, but they no longer was in the Hawaii territory. So we just looked
Mm.
at everything, took some pictures, came back and built the Mr. Softy truck, registered the name. And in the early 90s, my dad
Wow.
went through Waimanalo, so he was very, very popular in the Waimanalo area.
That's amazing. That's impressive to
Yeah,
rebuild it.
yeah. And then after that, I kind of got involved in the travel industry that allowed me to get off island and travel internationally,
Mhm.
and met a lot of contacts out there until finally I was offered a position to manage a printing factory out in Thailand. So,
Mhm.
being around engineering and everything, but no experience in making tubes or printing, my boss basically told me, get learn how to do printing and tubing on my own. So I was the HR manager. So yeah, see this. So I had to go and learn this, and I had a great team around me, and I got to uh, meet with all of the machine manufacturers in Japan, in Switzerland, and they would all come down, and so we had a great team. Um, after that, I was in charge of the joint venture that this company had called CCL Industries and Taisei Corporation, and I was a joint venture coordinator. So they built a new factory.
Wow.
So I was in charge of building that factory out there. And again, my boss,
Wow.
very, very confident in me, threw me in there and said, "Build me that factory." So and before all of this happened, and when I first got into Thailand, I went to the university, Chulalongkorn University, studied Thai culture and the language. So I'm fluent in Thai reading, writing, and speaking. So I got to communicate with all of the workers. And basically, yeah, the factory was built. So after a while, and being out in Asia, I got to meet in Hong Kong movie stars. I went to Manila. I got to meet the president of the Philippines, Eric Estrada. So being exposed out
Wow.
in Asia, yeah. So I got to see a lot. So and being in business and everything before, and just basically importing, exporting. So I kind of came up with the how to. I kind of thought and read this book. I think for motivational speaking, a book in 1912 called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Wow.
Yeah, and that kind of just put your mindset and learn from your failures, and then end up where I am today. How can I used to
Mm.
think, okay, everything is based on world economy, expendable income. If the economy is bad, how are
Mhm.
you going to recover? So that's why
Mhm.
I decided to get into commodities. I decided to file patents on my experience and being involved in British American tobacco projects, and then just basically doing everything how I think, and working with engineering and with the team, and came up with a good product. And I was issued about 8 patents on
Wow.
yeah, cigarette box packaging that increases the life of shelf life from 7 months up to a year, which is a lot in
Mm.
savings. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now from this point going to, so this is our brand, our cigarette brand, Salcedo. This is the this one is actually is the cigars. So it comes like this, and then you have we have our own cigar brand line, and
Wow.
we also have our own cigarette line. And this is actually, again, the packaging and the box is what we do. So we started getting into commodities, and so what can withstand any economic downturn. So that's how we got into tobacco. Then the
Wow.
pandemic hit. So, which of course is a respiratory issue with the,
Mhm.
so of course our business went to a standstill. So how,
Really? Did people stop smoking
well, not stop
when the
smoking, it's a matter of governments. Governments for like importing and stuff, they shut down all the
Uh-huh.
bonded warehouses and everything like that. So
Oh, I see. I
yeah,
see.
being that our main market was in Africa, so we would have a lot of
Oh, so you couldn't get things in and out.
yeah, we couldn't get things in and out. And because of, yeah, the slide you see here is our first customer from Africa, and we actually made the this is the Benin flag from the thing. So this was our
Oh.
yeah, introduction to them, because they were so intrigued by the name Salcedo. Now Salcedo, it means like Latin dancing, and I had no idea that Latin dancing came from Africa, Benin. So
What?
yeah, so when they
Huh.
approached me, and they said, "Hey, we got this. Did you know the story on Salcedo, that it came from Africa, and then it went to Cuba, and then through the rest of South America?"
Oh,
So I was like,
interesting.
"Wow, yeah." So that's how we got started. So when the pandemic hit, and then we used all of our resources.
Mhm.
How can we help in this
Mhm.
pandemic, and using our machine expertise, being that all of my patents is based on the machinery of the packaging. Not we just developed the Salcedo brand just for customers who wanting product, because they kept asking. So I said, okay. So um, but basically the patents and everything, I had a meeting with the Thai government, with the Indonesian government and also the China government, China Tobacco, which is the largest tobacco company in the world with 172 billion in sales in China alone.
Mm.
So yeah, so we're developing our own the cigarette machine to fit the patent. So yeah, so I have I don't know if I had enough slides on the. This is the mass machine, okay,
Oh.
that we're doing. Yeah, a little bit ahead, but that's okay. But this is the machine that we're going to be starting with in the FTZ in Hawaii, and so this machine is quite easy actually compared to
Yeah.
a cigarette machine. So that's why everything already. And this is actually one of our suppliers for a piece of the cigarette machine that in China is just
Oh.
amazing how they're so innovative in China.
Huh. So did they retool like a cigarette
They did.
manufacturing machine to do
They were
face
actually doing
masks?
the label machine for us. So, but because
Oh,
of the
okay.
and their business started going down as well. So they started retooling and they made this and got CE certified and everything. So
That is amazing.
yeah, so so our engineers said we met and we talked and we say, hey, well, I said, well, how do you folks feel about this? They said this is easy, nothing compared to the thing. So the process is really easy. So working with the supplier and in business is for me, I think more important than money is relationships.
Hmm. And so you guys were working with this China equipment manufacturer already for your other products
Yes, for the
for this
cigarette
the
machine. Yeah.
cigarette. Wow. And so your patents are actually for the equipment design?
It's actually for the actual this design, but without the
Oh, I
design
see, I
for
see.
yeah, without this design for the box, you cannot have the
Hmm.
machine because the machine
Got
has
it.
to make the box. So it
Yeah.
goes hand in hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is that's amazing. And so you worked with them to
Yeah.
get the face mask equipment.
Yes, the face mask and everything. So I tried to what I wanted to do was we brought in the face the well, if you were to import, as you can see, if you go to Walgreens or everything, like for a pack of 50, I mean, right now in San Francisco or in
Hmm.
Hawaii, you're looking at paying about $34 a box of 50 of
Hmm.
the regular mass, and it's because there's a big tariff that comes in from China. So everybody is importing, and the actual melt blown, which is the middle part of the mask, is the part
Hmm.
that actually stops the virus from coming in.
The
That
filter part.
yeah, that is like you cannot get that. Yeah, this is the melt blown machine. Okay, so it's a very simple process. So it's like granules that come down and it's melted and sprayed onto the conveyor belt, and then it's cut into different the like about 175 millimeter per roll. So and then there's like about a
Hmm.
12% waste that we can actually we will also have our recycling machine that will be able to recycle back down to the granules and you can reuse that with 0% waste.
Wow. And would people be able to turn in their old masks for you
Yes,
to recycle?
that's another thing that we're looking at. Like all of the masks that you see that's thrown away because they use it and they throw it away, and
Yeah.
they're finding
Yeah,
it in the
yeah,
ocean. They're finding it. I mean, it's in landfills, and you can imagine now it's law. So you can imagine how much mass is going to be out there. So we would be able to like pay people to collect all of this mass, and we can pay per kilo how many, and when we bring back, and we'll be able to shred
yeah.
it
Hmm.
down and then it'll go back through the process of being remelted down and back into the
Hmm.
granules, and we can reuse it again, and it'll cut the cost even more. Yeah,
Wow. And you're planning to do this all in Hawaii.
all in the FTZ. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest challenges you faced when first starting to develop this idea and trying to get things here to Hawaii?
Well, being opening the business in Hawaii or in the U.S. was a little bit little bit challenging as far as getting started, especially now in pandemic where cash is scarce, liquidity is very
Mm,
very scarce, and all these businesses is going out of business. So what we did was we put together resources, and of course working with banks and everything was a huge issue.
mhm,
When I first came to the FTZ before the pandemic, and we were planning on doing what we were doing, working in the free zone in Thailand, I wanted to replicate here in the US. So we immediately talked to Scott, I think
mhm.
Yoshida,
Yoshida.
Yeah, Scott
Yep.
Yoshida, and he just he was so open armed and just was like, I haven't been to Hawaii in a long time. I've been living in Asia for 27 years. So when I came back and he had that aloha spirit, I was like, wow, it was like he just opened it. It was just felt like really at home and miss home actually after talking with
Mm,
Scott and stuff. So me and my business partner, we came down, and then he opened up the warehouse and everything and showed us, and I was like, wow, this is, I mean, everything what we wanted. So when we wanted to change and come into the free trade zone, and then the pandemic hit, so I couldn't come back.
mm.
So and then I wanted to open up,
Oh.
and then that's when I met Surumi. And
Mhm,
Surumi has just been an angel. I mean, her whole team and yourself, Scott, everybody, the whole team has just been so helpful. I mean, and Surumi even helped me open up my to become a tenant at the free trade zone remotely from Thailand. So she was going back and
Wow.
forth. She helping me back and forth, and then with the tax office, so forth and so on, and so when I came back and any issues I had, I was running into roadblocks, and I would go, "Hey, Surumi, I I have
Mm,
issues with the bank." Oh, and she then I noticed on the website that you folks had the U.S. Export Import Bank. So I was like, "Hey,
mhm,
Surumi,
mhm.
is there any way that it could help? Because I'm having trouble with the, I don't want to name banks, but
The
even
financing.
locally or in California, and the bank, everybody was just, I mean, just so the cost and everything was just not what I wanted. So I ran across that
Especially with a new business, right?
especially with a newbies, exactly where,
Mhm.
and nobody, there is no loans out there. I don't know if anybody ever tried with loans out there for startups is
Yeah.
not there. So that's
You
why we,
know, yeah, no track
yeah,
record. Yeah.
yeah. So one example of a problem we had was the letter of credit. Okay, for me to purchase my machine, to get all of the stock, everything, so that we can at least get running. We can I can bring in my
Mhm,
GM from
mhm,
my engineering team to come down to Hawaii and train. We train the new workers
mhm.
once the machine is set up. So to get everything, and with the Chinese New Year and everything, so the timeline was kind of tight. So when I went to these two banks that I had signed up,
Mhm,
and there was like, oh, you would have to come in, and because I travel frequently, it's like that would have been an issue for me. So
mhm,
immediately,
mhm,
Surmi was like, she hooks me up with the U.S. Import Export Bank, and he calls me immediately and say, okay, if you cannot, we can do this. And so I tried one more time with the bank here in California, and I think they told me I would have to wait 6 months to,
Oh.
oh yeah, because 6 months that I would have to have that relationship with the bank to start. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I
Oh.
called Greg Moore. So he hooked me up with Greg Moore. Hey, Greg, I'm having issues with it. So immediately he hooked me up with this bank that has a direct relationship with China and works all with the import export businesses. So, and we got that
Wow. So
letter
they
of credit
actually
issued.
understand exactly what you're trying to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that really
Huh.
helped us out a lot. And even insurance, as far as insurance, when remotely, nobody would touch PPEs, from insurance. So
Wonder
we
why.
yeah, because I think because of the virus and the liability is like
Oh, I
big
see. I
liability.
see.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so we made some adjustments as far as changing PPEs to, hey, this is just gonna, even though if it's medical grade,
Hmm.
we cannot
You
claim
don't claim it.
medical grade. So but people is gonna just buy, and it's high grade, but it's just gonna be like a disposable mask that you can wear it and
Wow.
have that protection and have um because right now I know the CDC claim about the cloth mask and everything is good, but when you put cloth mask and you're washing it and you're kind of breathing in this thing. So that's
Mm,
the thing with having the melt blown. This was made for these specific things,
yeah.
and the pricing that they had out there in the market is just gouging people. How can you gouge people in this economy? So the
Hmm.
cost is like pennies on the dollar that's to make. So we're gonna make it,
Wow.
yeah. So and being made in Hawaii and having the benefits, the tax, the duty benefits of making the product in the free trade zone, this would benefit Hawaii a lot.
Is there anything else you're importing aside from the equipment? Like, is there any raw materials or anything that you need to
Yes,
import from another
yes.
country?
The raw materials again will be coming from China. Everything would be in the container. So this first container is just basically a test run to get things going. Then the
Mm,
second material would be coming in a full 40-foot container. And then once we get
wow.
running, eventually we want to have the melt blown machine that was shown earlier. So the
Mm-hmm.
melt blown machine would allow us to make our own fabric. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and right now, we talked with yeah, that's the our brochure for the getting to know all the information about our melt blown machine. But I was in talks with ExxonMobil and about
Mm-hmm.
because at that time China was so expensive because the demand, like back April
Yeah.
May, was
Yeah.
so high, it was ridiculous. It was like
Mm-hmm. Because everybody
128,
wanted.
yeah, 128,000 US dollars per ton of the material. So after I talked to
Wow.
ExxonMobil and got and their distributor for Hawaii and everything, so and we got it down to, I think it was like 2,300, $2,300 per
Oh
ton.
my God.
And they were even trying to. They said we could send you
That's
2 tons just to
crazy.
get your thing going. And there was like, hey, we're so excited. We never worked with any company in Hawaii before, so yeah. So we'll be able to produce everything once every, and then there's still about maybe 30% that will still have to come in from Asia of the raw material.
Do you just like, so for ExxonMobil, do you just cold call somebody and just say, hey, I'm in Hawaii, this is what I want to do? Or
Yeah,
how do
well,
you even approach
yeah,
something like that?
yeah, it was just, I guess, what they see how you do. So not many people, I guess, not many companies is manufacturing. So like this melt blown under the
Hmm.
Defense
Hmm.
Production Act enacted by the last administration, they took all the melt blown because this melt blown fabric. I mean, it makes diapers, and I was surprised even dog diapers. I never knew that existed, but you
That's
got you, dog diapers, wipes, all the wipes. I mean, anything
oh,
to
yeah,
do with
yeah, yeah.
the fabric, with this thing, it
Hmm.
makes everything. So this fabric nobody in the U.S. makes, so that we're forced to buy from Asia.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say, I don't know, just there's a lot. Everything that you see online, everything is imported. If you go into the store, everything is
Hmm.
imported. So being that this would be made in Hawaii and in the free trade zone, which I think is the only way, basically, in as far as saving and keeping the cost down, is economical to do. And for the price, I mean, you're looking at, compared to what the price is now on the in 34, like say if you see a box mass
Hmm.
$34,
Yeah, yeah.
we can probably retail it for like $5. So
What?
yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
So
crazy.
yeah. So and
And then
not gouge the people, too. So
do you already have people that you've been starting to market to so that you have demand already kind of built up for
yeah,
once you start producing?
yeah. So what we did was, we already registered in SAMS, which is with the federal government procurement
Hmm.
program. I registered with the state of Hawaii as well, and I registered under Dun and Bradstreet, which is like Walgreens, Costco, CVS. You have to be registered
To
under
do
this.
business with the
Yeah,
government, right? The
yeah,
federal government.
to do business with the federal government, and most of all, but what I was very interested in, not only with the big, but I'm interested in the little people. So maybe you get small mom and pop
Mm-hmm.
markets and mom and pop people that uh, that something they need something extra like this in, they'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
directly to the manufacturer and get it at
Yeah,
the
that would
same
be
price. Not,
amazing.
yeah, not only you know for the big orders, but to me I think especially in Hawaii where jobs and everything taken away and tourism, and we all know growing up in Hawaii that everything is based in tourism, and something like this to hit is a
Mm-hmm.
testament at what
Yeah.
needs to be done and what change. And I feel that maybe by this interview that maybe it would help others to try to innovate and try to do some kind of manufacturing in Hawaii, because manufacturing really and
Mm-hmm.
being in the middle of the Pacific away from everything, manufacturing is the way to go to us to be self-sustainable. Yeah,
Yeah, especially if we can manufacture locally for our people.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think I agree with you. I think manufacturing can be one of the economic pillars for Hawaii if we can get more
yeah,
people to start manufacturing here.
yeah.
Okay, we are closing out on our session. I wanted to ask you quickly if you have any like brief words of advice for anybody that wants to start out in the business. What would you recommend? Any advice?
Any
Could be
advice?
general.
Oh, okay. If you, all I have to, I guess I would say is if you're gonna start a business, you have to go in full steam ahead,
Mm,
and you cannot quit. If
mm,
you quit, if
yeah.
you, if you if you don't quit and you keep going, you're gonna fail, you're gonna learn, and you're gonna keep improving.
Mm.
So just don't
Because
quit.
that's your business, right?
Yeah, you cannot quit, because right now I still have staff and everything in Thailand, and everybody depends on, and we have a good team that we all think alike, and we have all the same vision, and our work ethic is all the same.
That is an amazing story. Like it sounds like such an adventure. That's so exciting.
It is.
um, I really wanted to thank you for your time and for sharing your story about how you've got to where you're at in this point of starting your business. And I'm really looking forward to kind of coming back and doing a follow-up story on once you've started going and how things are going and yeah, how you've been doing. So thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you. And
It's really good to
just
talk to you.
one more quick shout out to Sarumi and her team. You folks have been wonderful, and honestly, we couldn't have made it to this point without all of you. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you
much.
so much. Yes, our team is awesome. I agree. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on International Hawaii. This is ThinkTech, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.